When I was first diagnosed and I started to learn to manage how to meet my goals and how to meet my needs as someone with autism and ADHD, I learned that I could benefit from implementing a daily routine. There are lots of benefits to a routine. It helped me to feel less anxious in the mornings because I knew what to expect from the day. It's easier to incorporate healthy habits like journaling and exercise if those things just become part of a daily routine. And overall, life just felt less overwhelming. But equally, when I tried to put one into practice in the long term, I learned that trying to adhere to a routine also created some new problems. I noticed that I felt anxious and overwhelmed if something changed and I had to switch from my daily routine to an unexpected situation, which made the routine a little bit counterproductive. It also felt difficult to feel that I was clock watching all day to make sure that I stuck to my routine. And as an ADHDer, I found that after a few days of the routine, I became restless and agitated because of having to stick to doing the same thing at the same time every day. So I'd try shifting to a different routine, but after a few days of that, the same thing would happen. So the problem wasn't with any particular routine, but in fact with the notion of a daily routine. This was frustrating, to recognise that something was potentially good for me in order to stay regulated and organised, but equally to notice that actually sticking to it didn't seem realistic or achievable. And this is when I started experimenting with mini routines and rhythms, which I found much more helpful. So in this video, I'm going to share the why and the how to develop a rhythm and mini routines as a part of your day. Using mini routines and rhythms gives me a sense of comfort and control in what can feel like a very chaotic world, but with the flexibility of not having to adhere to a strictly time-based routine. The system follows a pattern of events rather than a clock, and they give me flexibility each day to find the right pace and rhythm for any particular day dependent on my energy levels and my motivation and what I want to achieve. For example, if I've had a bad night's sleep and I'm feeling tired and slow, then I can adjust my rhythm and routines to have a slower day and accommodate my needs. It also allows for spontaneity, which will help people with ADHD, but with a level of structure that will prevent us from getting carried away with dopamine seeking. Your rhythm is the pace at which you want your life to run. I need a slower pace to my day because otherwise I end up feeling overwhelmed, overstimulated and unregulated. And that can cause me to be irritable with the people around me, which is not good. Additionally, as someone who also has physical disabilities, if I don't commit to a slower rhythm, then I can end up overdoing it, making my symptoms worse and ultimately potentially crashing. It's too easy to fall into a bust and boom cycle, which is where you do all the things when you have the energy, only to crash and be unable to do anything, rest, regain energy, and repeat that cycle. I think it's much more satisfying to stick to a slower rhythm and be able to be much more consistent. The starting point for my daily rhythm are my two bookend routines. The two routines which signal the start and the end of the day. My morning and evening routines. These are a great way to start constructing your daily rhythm. They aren't placed at a particular time of day, rather they're signalled by a particular event. So my morning routine begins when I wake up and get out of bed. As a starting point for creating your bookend routines, you might want to sit down and write down all the things that you need to include in each of those routines. I would caution against including too much though, especially as you are getting started with this. For example, my morning routine includes exercising, breakfast, journaling, planning for my day and getting up, dressed and washed. And my evening routine includes personal hygiene for the end of the day, making a relaxing cup of tea and getting into my pyjamas, which happens after dinner every day. Once you have your bookend routines sorted, then you can begin to plan for your daily rhythm through the day and potentially a couple more mini routines to include. Next, I consider anchor points for my day. And then I can assign blocks of time which are routed between these anchor points. I have 4 anchor points. Ready to start the day, which is right after my morning routine, lunchtime, finishing the working day, and after dinner. At the weekend, I only have 3 because I'm generally not working. These anchor points naturally then give me 4 blocks of time. one between breakfast and lunch, one between lunch and ending the working day, one between ending the working day and dinner, and one from dinner till bedtime. All of these time blocks can be used flexibly. For example, if you start your morning routine late, then you can either have a shorter time block before lunch, or you can have lunch late if you need to extend the time block. Or if something came up unexpectedly in the afternoon, then you could easily get back to your rhythm by attaching yourself to the next anchor point that comes up after the disruption. Another tip to this structure is that if you're someone who needs to assign rest periods throughout the day, but like me, you can't actually implement them because you keep forgetting or getting carried away, then you can attach rest breaks to your anchor points. I have a mini routine of getting rest after my lunch every day. You can create as many mini routines as you like, possibly a doing your special interest routine or a doing the laundry routine. All you need to include are the logical sequence of events that you will do in order to complete that task. To start filling these time blocks, I found it helpful to sit down and write down all the things that I'm hoping to achieve each week. And then you can assign particular tasks to particular days. And this is where you can start to be more or less structured depending on your preference. Personally, this is where I stop being structured. And instead, I have a plan for what I need to do each day, but I sit down in the morning with my planning book and plan when and how I'm actually going to get those things done on a daily basis. This means that if I have appointments, then I can work my tasks around those. Or if I'm having a particularly difficult day or a flare day, then I can reduce the number of tasks I'm aiming to do and either assign them to another day or accept that they're not happening this week. Or you might prefer to actually assign tasks to particular blocks of time in advance. So perhaps you always do the laundry on a Monday morning, or you always do your out of the house chores on a Wednesday afternoon. I'd only recommend this approach if you're way more laid back than me and you can cope with not doing what you were supposed to be doing on a Monday morning because the cat needed to go to the vet. If you do choose to do it this way, make sure you leave some time blocks available for rest, for fun, and for unexpected or ad hoc tasks. Okay, so that's basically it. Just a shorter recap in case I used way too many words. First, plan your bookend routines, a morning routine and an evening routine. Next, establish anchor points to structure your day, potentially based around meal times or if you work, the start of work and the end of work. Finally, plan what tasks you need to get done each week and either add them into your structured time blocks or plan when you're going to do them on the day. I've created a document with my daily rhythm, my bookend routines, my tasks each week and my tasks each day. And I'm going to use this as a way to start to get used to the rhythm and the routine. Eventually, it'll probably just come naturally. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe and all that good stuff. A little reminder that my work here and on my other channels is partly funded by my audience. So if you'd like to do that, it's also a great way of getting more involved with the Purple community and hanging out in my Discord group. Please hit the join button if you'd like to know more about that and you have capacity to do so. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.